Alright, can somebody time for me?
Hi everybody. So today I'm going to be talking about what I did for my Elixir this year, where I focused on period poverty in India, and I wanted to help girls that struggle with period poverty. So first, just a little bit of background. So both my aunt and my grandparents live in Gurgaon, which is right next to Delhi. And, I visit there every year, I go to their house all the time, but I never knew that just 10 minutes away from their home, there was a community of girls who were really, really struggling with period poverty. So over here, I had met both Kriti and Lakshmi. So Kriti got pregnant at the age of 12 and is now our age, and she has a toddler. And Lakshmi also had to drop out of school due to period poverty. So just as an overview, I think this was one of the biggest experiences that I've had this year, because seeing girls so close to me, at my age, so close to my second home, but have such different circumstances just by luck was really, really insane to me. So I think this was one of the main motivations on why I chose to work as hard as I did on this project. So first is the conception and planning of my Elixir. And I just wanted to say that, these girls that I've met, Kriti, Lakshmi, all of the girls in the community and in the school will continue to stick with me throughout my life, because the experiences that they've told me and what they go through and still be standing today is so incredibly strong. And they are a major reason of why I'm doing this project. So that was one of the main focuses of this project. But just before that, this is an overview. My Elixir is classified under the beneficiary impact, which means that I try to help as many people as I could with my initiatives. So I helped both the students at the Manas Shiksha school, which is basically a school where they provide free education to underprivileged kids, and the Gurgaon community, which unfortunately doesn't have that same opportunity. So my project goal, my original goal before doing any research, was to figure out how can I destigmatize feminine hygiene in India. But as I did more research on my FRP and as I worked on my TED Talk, I've come to realize that stigma is so ingrained into Indian society. So for example, just when I visited the girls, all the girls that I had met, they were not allowed to go into the kitchen, they were not allowed to talk to their male family members, they weren't allowed to go into the prayer room. And so, but they all thought it was totally normal. They were all like, of course, no, this is what everybody does. So that's made me realize that while I can't do anything right now, this is an effort that needs everybody's time and attention to really root out the stigma. In the meantime, as more of a short-term goal, I wanted to support girls that struggle with period poverty, like the most important parts of period poverty, such as not being able to access sanitary napkins or not having disposable facilities, which is something the girls had also struggled with really bad. Now, why did I choose this topic? So I chose this topic because I've always been really big into women's empowerment, as per my aunt. And so this is a brainstorming document which I had. And I was like, obviously women's empowerment is the main one. But also, when I was figuring out topics, one of the main statistics that I've come across, and I use all the time, is that 1 in 5 girls drop out every year in India just due to period poverty alone. And because India is such a huge country, that means 23 million girls every year, or 100 million girls every 5 years. So by the time we graduate, we're off to college, we're studying whatever we want to study, 100 million girls in India will have dropped out, which is, insane to me, right? So so these guiding questions, I've developed these guiding questions to kind of help me figure out, how can I go about creating change? So the first one is sort of a more surface level one, is how do I provide a long-term solution to these girls struggling with period poverty? So when I went to visit the school and the community, many of the girls used cloth as they weren't able to use sanitary pads, and they had a big pit. I went and saw the pit. It was a big pit, no trash cans, no lids, just a big pit, and no newspapers to throw it even. So it was very unhygienic. So I felt like that was the main thing that I should really focus on. But then, sort of an underlying question that was always in the back of my mind is, how can I help dismantle the stigma around menstruation? So much of these problems that are being caused is because nobody's really paying attention to it. It's not a topic that's talked about enough. So I think to really create long-term change that will make things better for years and generations to come, we really need to create an open space where girls can talk about menstruation and face these issues. Okay, so next I'm going to be talking about the content or the details of my Elixir. So as a summary of concrete achievements, I fundraised around 60,000 rupees, which for the school gave an entire year's supply of sanitary pads. So an entire year supply of sanitary pads pretty much means 1,750 packets or 10,500 pads to the girls. And because it was a large donation, the school had also reached out to me telling me that they were able to give these pads to other schools during health camps. And this empowered the girls to participate more into school. This is something that I wasn't expecting, but that was really, really awesome to see. So I was very happy with that. And then finally, as an effort to make things long-term, I think Ms. Ernst had given me this idea. I worked with Luna, which is the company that supplies sanitary pads in HIS. And I wanted to bridge a connection between Luna and the school that I worked with so that this can be a regular donation and the girls have the security of, like, okay, this will be a backup. This will always be there. Yeah. Now I'm going to be talking about the people that I met and what their lives kind of look like. So first are the school students. So the school students come from impoverished backgrounds. They usually live in slums and they have uneducated parents. So for example, this girl that I met, her name is Pooja, right? Her mother would take her out of school when she was on her period and make her come to work, which is obviously illegal because Pooja is, I think, she's 10 years old. So what her mother would do was, while Pooja was on her period, she would say, Pooja, you can't go to school, you gotta come to work with me. Which is, that's pretty much child labor, right? So a lot of these parents are really uneducated on what to do when their daughters are on their periods, which is why this cycle keeps continuing to happen. But these students are relatively lucky just because Mara Shiksha provides a free education to these kids so they can really get a quality education, but normally they would not be able to because of the cycle that they're in. Now this is the other side. This is the community that wasn't able to get lucky and receive an education. So many of these girls are uneducated, and these two girls, Kriti and Lakshmi, they had quit school because they just didn't have enough reproductive health education and period poverty. So Kriti quit school because of her baby, and Lakshmi quit school because it was just getting too much to handle with her period as well. And these kids are all really affected by the stigma. Some of the younger kids know that they're not allowed to talk about periods even if they don't have it yet. These girls also, they talked about how they don't really like to talk about it out loud, or they thought it was weird that I was asking them about this topic. And so it was really sad to see because it was clear how hush-hush it was. It was clear how the culture was like, we shouldn't talk about it, which is obviously, not a good thing. So this was definitely one of the biggest parts of my Elixir. But I was able to make an impact. While I wasn't able to see the impact, the school did write back to me and telling me, like, okay, this is what you did. So I provided access to sanitary napkins, which was a long-term solution for these girls, for both Kriti and Lakshmi, and for the students at Mara Shiksha. But I want to place more emphasis on education because that's not being emphasized enough. So like I said before, 1 in 5 girls drop out every year. These are examples. These two girls are examples of those 23 million girls that drop out every year. And that shouldn't happen. There should be 0 girls that are dropping out every year due to period poverty. So I feel like if we place more emphasis on education, if we educate parents about it's important to send your daughters to school and it's important to let your daughters feel comfortable talking about their period, then we can make a change. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about my process. So this was my project log. This is all the things that I did, and these are some highlights. So on March 18th, I confirmed I was meeting with the NGO that runs the school, and I finished fundraising the 60,000 rupees. Then on April 4th, I actually met the school. I did my Elixir project, which was really, really enlightening, I guess. And then on May 8th, I wrote to Luna asking for some sort of connection. So this was the main highlights of my project. And now my reflection. What are the lessons, the lessons that I learned and what I'm taking away from this project, right? So the first lesson that I learned was, or the first thing that I gained was stepping out of the bubble that is HKIS. So, like I said before, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, I live so close to this community. I'm like, just map-wise, I'm very, very close, but I knew nothing about these people until I met them. So, realizing that these girls are so similar to me in age and in, personality, but so different in their privileges, has really had an effective paradigm shift on me because I've become more aware of my privilege that I have in HKIS. I've become way more aware of how lucky I am to be receiving this kind of education when girls like these, toddlers are not able to. It's a game of luck, right? So I think this is definitely something that I will put in my worldview essay because it's really motivated me to continue to create change for girls like Kriti and for Dr. The second lesson, or the second thing that went well was that I made a helpful impact that was really good. So I had some long-term benefits because it's a supplying of sanitary pads for a year. And I also think I did well in organizing this project because I think if you don't organize a project like this, it could go really, really wrong. And finally, I think I did well in continuing the initiative and working with Luna because I really do want to make sure that the girls have a sense of security and never go back to using cloth again because it's terribly unhygienic. I think 63% of girls get diseases every year just by using cloth alone, so it's really, really, really bad. And then the lesson third is just some improvements for the future. So right now, I've addressed the tip of the iceberg, the most prevalent parts, which is sanitary napkins and disposal facilities. But like I've said before, I think it's really important to address the root of these issues, which ultimately stems from the parents, because the parents are the one perpetuating this cycle. When I had met some of the parents in the community, it was very clear that they did not know about menstruation or how to deal with their daughters who might have some questions. So I think it's really important that we address, that all of us can address this at the root of this issue by addressing why is it so stigmatized? Why is it so taboo? We should be able to talk about this openly, right? The second thing that I think I could improve on is just planning fundraising. It was a little bit rushed. I created some infographics and I asked my mom to promote it, but I feel like I could have done more by myself. So that's something I definitely want to do better. And then finally, lesson 4 is just continuing the work. I've said before, this is an ongoing battle. This requires everybody's, participation, and I really want to work on this over high school. So this guy, Vikas, who has really helped me on this project, he's taught me a lot that it's a very deeply rooted issue because the government is not doing anything, but they should be spending more time, more resources, and more funding, as I say in my FRP ending. So I think that it's really up to us as people of privilege, as people who care about this issue, to make a change, because right now nobody's really doing anything. So I really hope to drive some change. Okay, thanks guys.